So this is a part 2 of a workshop we already did. And in part 1, I'm going to quickly show you the video of part 1. If you haven't watched this, it's not necessary for this one. I will do a quick recap. But if you haven't watched it, this is the one. It's called How to Build Agentic RAG Pipelines with OpenAI Function Calling. Okay, so I'm going to put the link also in the description. Okay, so what we did, this is for the document we used last time. So this was the workshop, and what we did, we well, you can see it here. So we first talked about RAG, what RAG is. Then we talked about implementing RAG, and we also created a simple agent. We made our RAG more agentic. We let the system decide when we want to invoke a function or not. And we also talked about agentic search. And at the end, we talked about function calling. So this is the part I want to focus in today's workshop, because last time we didn't really have a lot of time to talk about function calling. So I ended up copy pasting a lot of code from here to the notebook, executing this code without really explaining you what it is. So what I want to do today is just do a quick revision of the most important concepts we covered last time in workshop number 1. And I want to spend more time talking about function calling and all the things that we implemented here. Because here at some point we came up with this loop, and I didn't have time to explain this loop. I just copied things and then I put everything inside a library, simple library. We called it ChatAssistant. I also didn't have to explain what this ChatAssistant is and how it works. So I want to do it here and now. And as I was preparing for more workshops, eventually all the code that we wrote here and the code we wrote also as a part of our LLM course, LLM Zoom Camp, eventually I recognized that this is this code I tend to use repeatedly in other workshops too. So I thought I should put everything together in a library. This library Toy AI Kit. It's already pip installable, but not the latest version. So after this workshop, I'll publish it. So what we will do today is implement some of the things from this library. So if you want to use this library, I think it's pretty educational to check the source code for this library. So when you use this library, you actually understand what's happening, because I am going to use this library in upcoming workshops. So then you don't need to you will understand what's happening, and I can also refer to this workshop to say, okay, here, this is how we implemented. You can check this video where we implemented this. All the links to these things are in the description. So this is the video. If you watch it in the recording, if you also watch it now, so you go under the video, you click here, see more, and we have previous workshop, the video, then this document. This is the document we are going to use to walk through the code. Then Toy AI Kit is the library I mentioned right now. And there are other things. So yeah, you can check these links too. I'll talk a bit about them later. Okay, so let's now actually do a little bit of revision. So I want to start with the workshop with explaining what function calling is. And I'm going to use the same things we did last time. So we are going to use these FAQ documents from our courses. So this is an example of our LLM Zoom Camp FAQ. So here we have a question and an answer. Okay, got it. Go away. So we wanted to build a system an assistant, a smart assistant that can help course participants use the information from these FAQ documents, right? So this is what we do in the course. This is what we did in the last workshop too. So all these documents are now available on this link, and this is how these documents look like. So there is a question, what are the requisites, and there is the answer. So you can find the requisites here, or let's see here. Can I still join the course after the start date? And then this is the answer, right? And then we put everything into an index. So this is searchable. We can look up all the documents using search query. So this is this is an index that can help us find things from these documents faster. So this is how we use. So we have a question and we write, I just discovered the course. Can I still join it? And this is the first response from here, from this index, right? And here, this is this document that we have from our FAQ. I'm going to close it right now. So yeah, so this is what we want to do. Oh, where is it? Okay. No, this is wrong. So this is what we want to do, right? And so this is what we want to use. We want to use it for building our smart assistant. And then we talked about function calling. Function calling is a concept in AI where we let LLM decide if we want to invoke a function or not. So imagine we have a question from a student. I can use probably ChatGPT. Can I enroll in this course, or it's too late? Right. So ChatGPT doesn't know anything about that, and of course it will. The output it will give is not meaningful. So we want to empower our application to actually decide, okay, now I cannot answer this question. I need to look up the answer. Right? So this is what we do with function calling. And I'm going to quickly show you how we do this. So first, we have this search function that this is how we use it. So we just put a question from a student here. And we also need to describe it in a special format. So this is how we do it. So we say that this is a function. The name of this function is search. We give also the description of this function. We describe all the parameters this function has, and we say which parameters are required. So this is a simple description that we sent to OpenAI with our prompt, with our question. And then now it's up to the OpenAI LLM there, the model, to decide if it needs to invoke this function or not. So in practical terms, this is how it looks like. So we define some system prompt. We are saying that you're a course teaching assistant, you're given a question from a course student, and you need to answer that, right? And the question from the student is, how do I do well in module number 1? So then we use OpenAI. So we execute that, and now we get a response. So this is how the response looks like. What we're interested in here is output. And in output, we have a function tool call, which says, hey, I want to invoke this function named search. Right, so I want to invoke it, I need to invoke it. Right now, we have only one output, right? We can have two, so we can give it an instruction when performing a search in our FAQ, and do how to say, when searching in our FAQ, perform multiple queries. And so now we explicitly say it to make multiple, multiple search queries with differently phrased questions. Maybe this will cause it to, okay, you see now it's 3. So it wants to invoke the function search with 3 arguments: how to succeed in module number 1, tips for doing well in module number 1, and strategies for module 1 success, right? So we have 3 functions. So we want to invoke this function 3 times. So what we do here is now we iterate over this. So I'll call it entry in the response output, right? And what we need to do is first the invoke this function and then record the results. We also need to tell OpenAI that it has asked us to invoke this function, and these are the results. So when we do this, I need for this one, I'll need to copy paste a bit of code. Let me find it. Because we need to follow a special format. I don't remember this format. Yeah, so this is how the format looks like, right? So we say, okay, there was a function call, this was the call ID, and these are the results. Right? So now let me put it here. And by the way, so for this piece of code, I kind of rush over it because we already talked about this. So I want to have this as a revision, but for some parts later, I just jumped over them. So this is where I want to spend more time. So if what I'm doing right now is not super clear, I would actually suggest to check video number 1 and also go through these things from this text. Okay, so here, this is the notebook. So we need to add into our chat messages, first of all, this entry, right? So we need to say, okay, you asked us to make this call, and this was the call ID, and this was the output. We need to also result output, or I'll call it call output. So now we actually need to do the invocation. So for that, I will need to import JSON, because we want to parse, you see, this is how it looks like. We want to parse arguments, entry arguments. So we want to parse them. JSON loades. I'll call it args. Then we need to have the function name. I'll call it fname, entry name. And what else do we need? We need call ID, right? Call ID, entry call ID. So I'll put it here. Now we need to invoke the function. For that, there is a trick. So we have this globals variable. When we do it, maybe I shouldn't have done. So we have all the variables we have here. So if we just do name, you see, this is one of the name variables we have in our namespace. We also, if we do globals search, we get back our search function. So if we just type search, we get this search function, right? So what we can do is use this to get our function by name. We'll call it f name, right? So now we have our function. We have the arguments. Now we can do results. So we just invoke it with arguments. So this is, we can, let's say this is our arguments. Let me take it. Args. So this is how our dictionary looks like with arguments. And this is our function, search, right? So here we call it f, but this is the same as just calling search. So what we can do to pass the arguments that are stored in a dictionary is use this syntax with stars. So now you see we just invoke this search function with argument query and this parameter, this value. So we get the results, and we want to turn the results into a string, JSON dump as results. And I'll call it, let me just call it output JSON. Okay, so here we invoke the function with arguments, and we also need to append this to our chat history. Append output. So now, when we invoke this next time, we will know that OpenAI has asked us to perform these function calls, and these are the results of these function calls. So if I print this now, we see that there is a question from the student, how do you do well in module number 1? Then there is this call. Then there is this function call output where we provide the results. And then, so we basically do this 3 times. And now we simply invoke this one more time because chat messages contains all the new things. So now it actually knows the results. And now we can see output text. Let me just print it. So to excel in module 1 of your course, here are some key strategies. So then, based on the things it found in search in our database, these are the strategies it suggests, right? So now we want to work a little with this code. So first of all, I want to create a function, which I will call make call, for example, or I call it do call, I don't remember. So here I'll just take in this entry and then put all this logic here. Return call output. So what it does, it parses the arguments, it gets the name of the function, invokes it, so basically everything we did here, and then it responds with the result. So now we can simplify our code a little. Entry. So now we just have 3 lines like that. But we also know that sometimes the response is, let me show you. So in this case, the response is, if we look at type, the type, how do you do this? Let me check response, output. So in this case, it's output message. And if we look at the type, this is message. And previously, I don't think we saw it, but previously, let me quickly check it, how it was previously. Response. Output type was function call. Yeah. So what we will need to do, because we can get both, could be a function call, could be a message. So we need to be able to deal with both. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, so we will need to, in any case, we will need to append the entry. So if our assistant replies with what we had here, and we want to continue, we need to keep this in history. So this way we can actually create a proper conversational agent. But here we add a statement, a list statement. If entry type equals message, we display the message, print assistant, and then entry. How do we do this? Let me actually call this response 2. I will comment this because I don't remember how it actually looks. The response output content. Okay, yeah. And I see that this is actually, can I call it entry? Entry content. So we have text and content 0 text, right? So this is what we want to print. Okay, so let's do that. Assistant. But if entry type is function call, here, this thing, then we make a call and we also append the result of the call. Right, so this is how it looks like. So let me experiment with this a little bit. So I'm going to move this thing to the top so it doesn't interfere with us. Okay, so it doesn't distract us. Okay, so we have this prompt. I will move this away and I will put it here. So we make an invocation. Let me also move import JSON to the top. I already have import JSON, so why didn't I need to import it one more time? Okay, so first we prepare the developer prompt, then we have the question, then we have chat messages, right? So these are the initial system prompt, and this is the question from the student, from the user. Then we get a response, and then we iterate over the response. And if this is a message, the response, then we show it. If it's a function call, we perform the function call. Right, so when we execute it the first time, I am going to. So I think what happened right now, it didn't show, but we probably needed to do some. Yeah. So let me actually write here: print invoking entry name, entry arguments. So then we know. Let me do this one more time. So now we know what is actually happening. So this is the first time we invoked it, and then the second time we run this, because we appended the results to it, the second time we run it, it will be our message. Okay, yeah. So which means we, of course, do not want to keep executing this in one cell. So what we want to do here is to have a loop. While, I'll just call it while true loop. What I will also do is, instead of here hard coding this question, what I will use is I will ask this to the system. I think it's, so if I just do input, so we get a box like that. I can say, hey, how are you doing, right? And then the response is this. So we will use this question input. And if we say stop, if we want to exit this loop, we just exit it. So I'll say if question, let me also do this, strip. So if we have extra white spaces, we want to remove them. If question lower equals stop, then we break the loop and we say chat ended. Also, when we write input, we can have some prefix here. We can say user, right? And then we have a prefix here. How are you, right? And then this is how it gets displayed. Okay, so I'll just write user here as a prefix. And now we do this. Okay, so we have a loop, then we get a question, then we invoke the system, we invoke ChatGPT, we invoke GPT, and then we iterate over the responses. But we also know that we needed to execute this, this part 2 times, even though there was only one input here, which means we need another loop inside. So we need one loop where the loop is asking the user from feedback, for feedback like the user for input, right? So this is the outer loop. We can call it the Q&A loop. Right? But then we also need to have another loop while true. So in this loop, we keep, if we have function calls, we keep executing it, keep invoking them, because what can happen is here we send the request to GPT and it says, hey, invoke this function. Then we provide the results of this function, we execute this function, we provide the results, and then it says, okay, this is not sufficient, we need to execute one more time. And then another response from this function could be, from this LLM could be executed one more time. So we need to keep looping until there is only message and nothing else, right? So until there are no function calls. So which means we need to have another loop and has function call false right now. And if we see that if there was a function call true, which means we need to invoke this and send this the output of the functions one more time to GPT, right? But if there are no function calls, if there are just chat messages, then we are good and we can ask the user for more input, right? So then if there are function calls, it means that we continue the loop. If there are no function calls, if not function calls, we break the loop and we ask the user again for the question. So in the previous workshop, I think I just copy-pasted the code without really explaining. I hope now it becomes clearer. If it's still not clear, what you can do is you can copy this code to ChatGPT and ask it to explain. Can you explain this code? Why do I need to? Oops, I actually don't know if it will work. Function called chain. Yeah, I think looks good. So you can do this if you still don't understand the code. And you can just simply walk through this to when you execute it yourself. I think it will be clearer what is happening there. Okay, so now let me try to actually execute that. How do I do well in module 1? So now okay, yeah, of course, I forgot one thing. Let me stop. I have a question here, but I did not add it to our question history. So we need to edit, append, and this is how we append. Right, so now we say, okay, this is the question from the user. We send it to GPT here in chat messages. And yeah, so this should hopefully work. How they do well in module 1. Okay, so it's invoke and search. And now it should show us the result. Okay. How do I learn Docker? So we can continue this chat like you do it with ChatGPT. I see there is a question from Hamad. Will the LLM respond always with either function call or messages, or can it have both types of responses together as well? It can actually have both types. So let me stop it. This is a very good point, Hamad. So it can have two. So for example, if we ask it before making any function calls, explain your reasoning, why you want to perform something. Right? I actually haven't tested this prompt. Let's see how it works. Also at the end, I want to ask at the end, ask the user a question to make it more engaging. So maybe it's not the best prompt, but let's see what changes when we do this. So now, how do I do well in module 1? So hopefully now it should reply with reasoning. Why? Yeah. So here we actually have both. We have message and we have function calls. And it says to provide you with the best guidance on doing well in module 1, I want to check the FAQ for specific strategies. So it basically gives an explanation of what it wants to do. So then it invokes the search function with this time 2 times. And then based on the information here, Here it is. And then we also asked at the end to ask a question, and then it asks, are there any specific challenges you're facing in module 1 that you'd like help with? And I can say Docker. And then it should, yeah, it decided not to do any search. Probably it had enough information, or it could just answer on its own, like it didn't need to do any searches, or at least it decided not to perform any searches. So let me stop it. Yeah, so this is the loop we have. We still can optimize it a little. So what we can do here is we can make it nicer. So I like to use this Markdown library. So at least we can do here when we show the text. So this is Markdown content. So we can actually parse it as HTML, and we can display it as HTML. So text, and then it converts Markdown string to an HTML and returns HTML as Unicode string. Okay, HTML content, and we want to show it. For that, we can use IPython widgets. So with these widgets, we can embed arbitrary HTML code in our Jupyter notebook. So I don't remember these things by heart. That's why I want to find where I use it. So this is, I think we already implemented that. Yeah. So I want to get these two functions. Yeah, wait, the wrong one. So let me import it here. Display an HTML. So here we can, I will get some code here. Where is it? Let's make it nicer using HTML, but do I actually make it nicer? Display response. I think I just put this code in ChatAssistant. So I want to copy some things from there. Because you see this, there is some logic here, right? Assistant. So this is what I want to do. So what I actually need is this piece. HTML content. So I have this HTML, right? So here it just looks, we create a div and inside we put two things there, and I call it HTML content. And now what I do is I do display HTML. So let me execute it. How do I do? Let me ask something else. How do I install Gentoo? So then it shouldn't go to the database, I think. Yeah, because I don't use the streaming API for responses. We need to wait till it comes up with the entire answer before we can see it. Although it takes a bit of time, I don't know why. Okay. Why does it actually print it? Display HTML. Right, what I actually needed to do is this. Stop. Give me short instructions on running Docker in Ubuntu. So hopefully this answer will be faster. Okay, so now you see the code is properly formatted, and then it says clearly assistant. And now we want to do the same thing with our function calls. because previously what we had was just, okay, invoking function with these arguments. What we also want to do is we want to be able to see the arguments of this function, not only the arguments, but also the output of this function. And yeah, where is it? Yeah, it's a little bigger, but yeah, let me. So I'll call it function name, which is entry name, right? So then we display the function here. And then for now, I don't have this function. We'll just ignore it for now. Arguments. Entry arguments. Okay, then the actual entry. So this is the call we make. Do we need it? Okay, let's keep it. And then output, call output, or maybe just call result. Like that. Okay, so we have function name, we have arguments, we have the function results maybe, or function output. I like this more. Okay, so now we again just display it. And this has this summary thing and details, which makes it really nice because we can collapse these things. Yeah, I will show you when I fix this. Okay, how do I do well in module 1? So now it should perform some searches. I think what I do is I forgot. That's why it takes so long, because I sent a lot of stuff there. Because I also need to execute that, right? That's why it was taking time. How do I do well in module 1? Okay, then it explains why it needs to perform searches. It decides to actually do 4 calls, and then it replies back. So you see, it's very convenient. So we can see it helps us debug our application. So we can see that there was a function call here, search. So these were the parameters. This was the response. This was the text, right? So for us, it's simpler to debug because we can just uncollapse it to see what was there, right? Cool. So this works. Let me stop it. And now what we did in the course, we added another, wait, here. We added another tool. The tool was or add entry. So let us add another tool. So I will add it here, add entry, and also wrong and description. Okay, so we here I call it search tool. Let me also call it add entry tool. So now when we invoke it here in the tools, where do I have? Yeah, so I have the list of tools. So these are the list of tools that we pass to OpenAI when we ask for when we ask a question. So now we have two tools, and I want to let me just put everything in one cell. This is easier. So then I don't forget to call it. Okay, so our code becomes complex, but we are going to refactor it now after I test that it works. How do I do well in module 1? Okay, so it's doing a few function calls. And it replies back, and now I say add this back to FAQ. So now it should make another function call. Yeah, and you see now this kind of becomes right, stop. So this thing, even though it's collapsible, it becomes large, right? So that's why we had this shorten function. I'm just going to take it from here. I'll add it to other function helpers here, shorten. So we want to list to make this shorter, so it doesn't take too much space. Okay, so we do it here. Short arguments, shorten arguments, and I put it here. Okay, so I will not re-execute it. It should just work. But this is our code. You can see that it becomes quite complex. So what I want to do right now is start decomposing it into classes. So the first thing I want to create is a class that I'll call, how do I call it in the library? Let me check, because I actually want to show you how these things in the library work. So in the library, I call it IPythonChatInterface. Okay. So this is how we'll call it. The function we will need is the first function for getting input. So input. Let me put it here. Return question, right? So that's the first thing we want to do. Then the second thing is we want to display here chat ended. So I'll just call it def display self what content. Let's just call it content, and we use a simple chat simple print. Then we want to display message. Let me see how we call this: display function call and display response. So let's start with display function call. So what for the function call we have, I will copy this entire thing, put it here. So what we have here is function name, arguments, or maybe I'll just call it name, arguments, output. Right, so it's a little clearer. So then here, name, arguments, output, and we simply display it. All right. So we will need to invoke it here. And the last thing we want to invoke is this part, and I call it display response. We have MD content, Markdown content. So this one is a little simpler, right? So we parse Markdown content into HTML, and then we display it as HTML. Cool. So now let's create an instance of this. I'll call it interface. It's a Python chat interface, right? And then we're going to use it here. So first question input, right? So this is the old stuff we don't need. Then interface display chat ended. So here I'm not only refactoring to make this code a little more modular, but also we can later swap this to some other implementation. So instead of using IPython widgets, we can use I don't know, Streamlit or something else. So we can display it differently. So it will be up to the implementation of this particular interface of this particular class, how exactly the behavior is. Okay. So then here we interface display function call. So name in our case name is entry name, arguments entry arguments, and output is call output. I think it's like that. Okay. Hopefully it should work. So let me test it. How I do well in module 1. Well, we forgot to add this thing, right? That's why it didn't show anything. Stop. Or I forgot. Interface display response MD content. Okay, now it should actually work. Oh yeah, it's good. It works. So we didn't break anything yet. So now more refactoring. I want to create a class that I will call it ChatAssistant. Class. Let me quickly check how I call it here, just to make sure the names are the same. ChatAssistant, yeah. ChatAssistant. So we will actually need to initialize it with a few things. One of them is interface, and the other, I think, will have open AI client for now. Interface, and then self open AI client. And we also need a system prompt here. System prompt or developer prompt. I don't remember how I call it. Yeah, I call it developer prompt. So here the final version will look slightly different, but we will eventually get there. So that's why for now let me keep the names like that. Self developer prompt. Let me actually use developer prompt. Okay, and we will have a function that I will call run, where we will put these things. Okay, so I will need to add self developer prompt. then self interface, what OpenAI client. Where is it? Was it okay? And then well, self interface, I think also here. Okay, so we did a bit of refactoring. So now let me do this. I'll call it chat, which is ChatAssistant. Developer prompt is this one. Interface is this one. Interface, and then we have OpenAI client, which is simply client in our case. And I do chat run. It will still, so this is still not finished because we have tools here, right? So tools come from here. So this is not completely, how to say, encapsulated. It doesn't, so there are some global variables that we use inside. So this is something we will change. For now, let us leave tools like that. So this, or maybe let me do this self tools. Actually do it this way. Tools. Okay, and when I invoke it, I'll say self tools. Tools. Okay, this one should be better. So let's see if it actually works. I just do chat run. Did I forget something? Yeah, I need self. How do I do well for module 1? Okay, yeah, still working. So which means I will remove this thing. So you can always find this code here in this workshop. Maybe it will not be exactly the same, but yeah, you can find it there. Stop. Okay, so now our code becomes more modular. So we have this ChatAssistant class, and we put the logic for dealing with the interface separately too. So then later, if we want to switch to some other, let's say front end, then we can just implement a different class with different logic and put it here, right? And then developer prompt, it's something we have, it's something different for each of our applications. So it makes sense to also make it configurable. And then this is our OpenAI client. Okay, so one more thing that is left is tools. So right now, tools look like that. So I want to create another class. I'll call it tools. Yeah, very creative. And then I want to have a method, or first let's add the initialization. So here we will create a list of functions or dictionary and function descriptions. Let me actually see how I call it here. Oh, sorry. Tools. Tools and functions. Okay. Let me call it this way too. Tools, functions. I already don't remember what's the difference between them. Here, function description. So then it's probably what we will have is self tools function name. So this is how we can refer. So let's say we have search function, and if we do name, we get the name of this function. So this will be our description and self functions. Then again, we will do something like that, but put the actual function. So we can, use it later for invoking function. Then we need a thing for getting all the tools we have. So this get tool or get tools, right? Where's it? Get tools. So here we simply want to get all the description of the tools. So it will be a return self tools. Is it items? No, I think it's values, right? And then we want to turn it into a list. So this is something we'll pass to OpenAI, because to OpenAI, we need to pass these things, right? So this thing and this thing. So get tools will return that. And this is something we will pass to OpenAI. And then finally, we need also invoke, or how do I call it, function call. Let me just copy the entire thing. It's a bit sunny outside, so let me close the... Okay, so that's the last function we need to do. And this is a replacement for this function. Where is it? Make call. So I will copy it. So here, instead of entry, we have tool call response, name, tool call name, call ID. Yeah. And instead of globals, what we will do is we will do self functions f name. Right. So we will not need to do any tricks here. So it looks legit. Let me try to actually use it right now. Tools, tools, and then we tools add tool. The first one is search tool, and the second one is add entry, right? Add entry tool. So now when we do tools, get tools, we get a list of these things. So first we have search, then we have add entry, and this is what we can actually pass here. Self tools, get tools. So now our tools becomes actually an instance of a class. No, it's not a list. Let me add types here. So tools type hints. It's a tools class. Developer prompt is a string. Interface, in our case, this is IPythonChatInterface. And OpenAI client is OpenAI. Okay, so this returns nothing. For this one, we can also do this, but maybe later. Okay, and now it runs, right? How do I do well in module 1? Okay, still works. It's still doing function calls. So now instead of doing this global thing, what it's doing is using the tools class. And in the tools class, we have this function call thing. Do I actually do this? I think I'm still... I don't think yeah, make a call. So here it should be self tools function call. Yeah. Okay. This is called entry here. Yeah. Well, ideally we write tests instead of doing it this way, the way I do it, just poking it and seeing if it's still working. Yeah, I can see messages here. A question from the messages. Anyways, how do I do well in module 1? So now it should actually use the tools class for invocation. And it seems to work. Yeah. Wait, I think there is a problem. So here we display the entry, but entry is not defined, right? So it uses a global name. So how do I fix it? Let me just add entry here. Yeah, well, maybe I just remove it. Okay, we have function call and we have output. Should work. Because I think in the library, let me see how I do it here. Chat IPython. I just passed the arguments completely without trimming arguments. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. That should be fine. We will attend test it one more time. I will remove all the global variables. We'll make a clean notebook, and then we will see how it actually works when we have clean namespace. Okay, so here another annoying thing for us is we need to define this search tool and entry tool, and it's kind of repetitive. So here we already have the add entry when we need to, and then we need to repeat it multiple times. So what we can do is we can actually try to automatically generate this. And let's say when we press our add tools. So for example, we can do something like this, add tool, and we just have a function here. And then we generate description. Generate description for this function. And then we do self add tool function description. So then we don't need to worry about generating that ourselves, writing it ourselves. So now we just need to write this generate description for function. And for that, what I will do is I will ask ChatGPT to help. So I will say, create a new one. I have functions and their description. Wait, where is it? What's the schema for the description in Python? Okay, so now it says this is the how it should look like. So I will just copy it and put it in our docstrings here, or maybe actually here. So then we remember it. It's not really important right now, but for us later it might be. Right. And now we have the schema, and now we can just ask it write a function that automatically infers the description, generates the description of a function. Use docstring. Okay. So it generated some code. We will now check if this code actually works. But I asked it to use a docstring. Where do we have? Yeah, docstring. So we don't actually have docstrings right now. So what I will do is I will remove this thing for now. And I will say add docstrings and type hints. Yeah, that's very convenient. So now what will happen is our our automatic inference, our description generator will just look at these descriptions and use them when generating this tool description. All right. Okay. So now let me remove this. Remove this and test it. Generate description, search. Yeah, so it seems to work. And another one was at entry. Okay, seems to work. Okay, so let's test it. So we have our class tools. We will add just search and just add entry. I need to, what's wrong? Add tool. Maybe I didn't execute it. No, self a tool function description. I don't know what's the problem, to be honest. Add tool. Right, and tool, because it's the same, it overrides, it's not Java, right? How do I call it here? Let me check. Okay, so this is what I do. If schema is none, description could be none. If description is none, then we generate it. Right. Yeah, that is more Pythonic, right? Because I was thinking in Java terms. Okay. Tools, get tools. Cool. So now we don't need to define these things. It just happens automatically. I see there are some questions in the live chat. Let me finish this one and then I'll get to questions. Yeah. So I think let me just test it. How do I do well in module 1? Yeah, still works. One last thing I want to do is sometimes I tend to keep my tools in a special class. So for example, I can call this class, I'll call it class workshop or course FAQ tools. So there is a class And then let's say we initialize it with index. So index, and then we have two methods: search, self, and let me just. What I'm going to do is I'm going just to copy this or cut and put it to our. So much code. Sorry, I lost track of things. So we have the search method and then add entry method. Self, okay. And then we also add self index and here self index. Okay. So now when we do, I'll call it FAQTools, and then our index. And then here in the FAQTools, we have search, Docker, right? And then we have add entry. And now instead of using functions, what I can do is add the methods of this one class. Okay, well, it still works. And what I can also do now is instead of adding all them separately, I can just have another tools, add tools. I can just say add all the methods from this class as tools. Right. And then for that, I will again ask ChatGPT. I'll just say, hey, implement this. Go through all the methods of this class and add them as tools. But first, I want to. Where's our tools class? Dev add tools self instance. Implement the add tools method. It should go over methods of an object and invoke a tool for each. So this works. Inspect get numbers. Okay, is it that simple? Okay. Because I think when I was preparing for this workshop, it was a little more complicated. Let me actually see how I did it here. Add tool, add tools. No, it's schema for instance. Yeah, I think it's simpler. Okay, where is the code? Tools. I'll just execute this inspect. I need to define inspect, to import inspect, okay. Because I think we import and inspect already, but yeah, it's here. Yeah, you see now it can go through all the methods of this class and get the description. And so for us, it's convenient because actually the functions we have, they depend on the index here. on this index, right? So this way we don't have any global dependencies, so we can conveniently encapsulate, hide it in the class. So then, yeah, we simply define this class with tools, yeah, with all the tools we want our agent to use, and we just add them. Okay. And how do I do well in module 1? So one last thing I want to do, maybe let me check questions. I'm working on going off topic. So for off topic questions, check our community, Datadogs Club. You will find links for joining it, and please ask them there. So I don't really want to go into that. Maybe at the end we'll have some time for Q&A where I can cover that. For now, let's focus on this content. Okay, so what I see, it still works. So what I want to do now is we have this namespace with a lot of different things we initialized and then removed. Is there no sound? I can hear sound. Okay, sorry, Amos, that you don't have sound. Anyways, so what I want to do now is restart kernel. So I want to make sure that it doesn't accidentally use any global variables that I maybe forgot to clean. Okay. So we don't need this function anymore. So this one will not work. Yeah, good. It shouldn't work. Okay, so let's see what we forgot. Call output. So we forgot to, yeah, we had some global variable. Function outputs. We don't even need this thing, right? Display function. I'll just re-execute all that. How do I do well in module 1? Okay, still works. So the next steps here is we have a lot of code here that we wrote. So the next step would be putting this code in a separate file. So let me actually do this right now. Can I not rename it? Yeah. So how do we call it? Chat assistant. I think we already have it, no? Or chat assistant 2 maybe. And I will put all these things there. So here we will only keep things that are relevant for our conversational agent, and the rest of the like helper code will go to that thing. So shorten goes here. So this one, I don't remember. I think it should stay here. So this one stays here. This one goes inside. Generate description goes inside. Tools goes inside. IPython interface goes inside. ChatAssistant goes inside. So this, we keep it here. So this is our helper class. Yeah, that's why I needed these types here, because they actually belong here. So this is our CourseFAQTool that depends on this index. So here we initialize the index, here we initialize the tools. And now I think what I'll need to do is I will need to restart the kernel again. And I will now save this from ChatAssistant to import. I'll just go with import star. This is not something you should do usually. OpenAI is not defined. Okay. Let me define OpenAI. Open import OpenAI. Okay, this is not what we should do. Maybe I should actually explicitly say what we import. Tools. What do we also need? ChatAssistant, right? So, oh, let's start again. Did I import tools? I don't remember. Yeah, I did. Okay, I think now I just need to execute this thing. How do I do well in module 1? And what it happens, and so that's another import I forgot to add. Import JSON. We will eventually fix it. Ideally, of course, you make tests. And then with tests, you can easily find these things. How do I do well in module 1? Yeah, so this seems to work now. Okay, so I'm going to commit all this code that we wrote. So the notebook I'm going to commit is called agents part 2. And this thing, ChatAssistant _2. I know not the most creative name, but actually, well, this is just for our reference. All this code that we wrote here today actually is also in this toy AI kit library. So I want to spend a bit of time talking about this. I'm still preparing the description of it. So right now you don't see much, but I'm going to add some examples here in the README. But this is what will contain all this code that we wrote. And I also plan to add more stuff here. So what we already have here is the chat part, where I split it into more modules, into more files. So we have a thing related to chat, which is our chat assistant. So this is exactly what we wrote today. Then IPython is the part where we have the interface. We have this IPython chat interface with all this code. And then the part with LLM, this is something I didn't cover in the video, but we can also make it provider agnostic and use different providers, not just OpenAI, but some other things, right? So you will see an example of how exactly to use this. And also the tools class, yeah, which we talked about. So it has documentation, but in the core, the logic is what we did And actually, for these parts, I also use ChatGPT to write this generate function schema and whatnot. Okay, and I also plan to add some MCP stuff, Model Context Protocol. So yeah, we will see. Maybe there will be another video where I talk about these things. Okay, so that's roughly it. So next time when I use this toy AI kit in my future workshops, I can just refer to this one, the one we had today, to explain how this whole thing was built. So I hope it was useful. I know it was somewhat maybe slow, but I wanted to make it slow. I wanted to explain all the steps I did. So for you, it's not confusing. If you, let's say, use this library, you understand what exactly is happening there. And again, also this library is only for educational purposes. There are other libraries like Pydantic AI, for example, which is more oriented for, it's better for production. It's production ready. So our toy AI kit is more like educational, but if you want to use it in production, you should go with Pydantic AI or Open AI Agent SDK. So there are other libraries too, not just these two. These two I know, but there are many of others too. So they have similar functionality. They have a lot more functionality, but under the hood, they do similar stuff to what we did today. So when you use these libraries, you will get some understanding of what exactly these libraries are doing under the hood, because we implemented these things from scratch here. Okay, and a few other things I wanted to add. So if you actually want to see how to use this OpenAI SDK, Agents SDK, and Pydantic AI, I am hosting a workshop soon where we will build our own coding agent. In this agent, this agent will create a Django project for us, something like Lovable. I don't know if you know Lovable. So this is thing for creating applications quickly, but Lovable creates JavaScript applications. So we want to implement something similar, but it will create Python applications. And here is a link for registration. I put it in the description, build your own agent. So this is a webinar that will happen in a couple of weeks. So there I will show, I will also use this library, Toy AI Kit, but we will also use more production ready libraries for that. Okay, so check it out. And another thing is we have a bunch of AI courses. There is also a link in the description so you can see what we have right now and what is in our pipeline. So with that, I don't really, let me actually take the question from Nemesis. So this is an off-topic question, but since I have a minute, I can answer it. I'm working on a large-scale data science ML project and looking for a course that teaches practical technical skills like cleaning, chunking. So I think ML Zoom Camp would be a good starting point. But also you can check MLOps Zoom Camp where we go into more details, into more advanced things. Also, we have Data Engineering Zoom Camp where we cover more engineering topics, like actually chunking also. But yeah, so since your question is more ML focused, then I would suggest ML Zoom Camp and then MLOps Zoom Camp. Okay, that's all for now for me. I hope it was useful. I will include all the links are in the description. I will also include this recording in the GitHub repo, so then you can go through this later. Okay, that's all from me.